Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. Whenever we take up an activity, whether it be playing sports or some other competition or contest, creating a video for people to view, an election, for instance, it's always good to have moments of self-reflection after the event is over so that you can improve on the things that you did right, stop doing the things you did wrong, and work on that self-improvement. It's helpful to self-reflect. It's helpful to bounce ideas off of others and have their point of view embraced by you. Whatever it is, part of human growth is striving for improvement. I know I do it with these videos. I watch them all the time, and I try to do things better, maybe talk a little slower, get rid of the Brooklyn accent, maybe make my point better in the next one than I did in the previous one. It's all about growth. Except, I guess, when you're in the Democrat Party, because you're already perfect, you've done everything right. It's everyone else that did something wrong. It's the voters that didn't get your message. It wasn't that your message was improper. It's all about what others are doing wrong rather than what's going on within the party itself and having some self-reflection there so that they can grow and improve.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
It's clear from the past couple of days or so from many prominent Democrats that the Democrat Party has learned absolutely nothing from the trouncing by Republicans across the country and, of course, the re-election of President Donald Trump. I'm going to give you some examples of that, not only from the gentleman you see on the screen, Hakeem Jeffries, but also from this past weekend's DNC Leadership Forum. And let me tell you, folks, it gets kind of wacky and kind of crazy, but it also shows that Democrats, by and large, have learned absolutely nothing from what the American people tried to tell them during this election. We're going to review some videos of Hakeem Jeffries and from the DNC Forum itself. But before we do all that, I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you're seeing here in this or any other video on the channel, I'm going to ask you guys to smash that thumbs up button. Like, comment, share the show with your friends. All that really, really good stuff. Because all that's going to help this channel grow via the YouTube algorithm. As always, gang, thank you so much for all that you do wherever you're watching, whether it's on YouTube, Rumble, X. I'm glad that you guys are out there liking and sharing and subscribing and doing whatever that platform tells you to do to help grow and spread the news about this channel and these videos. I appreciate all of your efforts. And for all you newbies out there who may be tuning into the show for the first time, however you found it, I'm glad you're here, and I hope this video earns your subscription and that you learned something about learning from mistakes by watching what not to do from Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and the DNC by and large. Last Friday, in the People's Republic of New York City, shop.buffoonoftheweek.com, everybody.
This guy is a grifter.
Hakeem Jeffries was fielding questions at a press conference aimed at talking about Donald Trump's failures of leadership thus far. He's only been in for a couple of days, folks, but Hakeem Jeffries has complaints already. Well, at that press conference, other topics were also addressed, like Hakeem Jeffries' position on the forthcoming 2025 mayoral election in the People's Republic of New York City.
You said that you don't want to swing at every pitch, but do you think it's appropriate that this city has a mayor who seemingly isn't swinging at any pitch? And do you think he's a good fit for the city as mayor right now?
Yeah, I have more to say about the future of the mayorship of the city of New York at the appropriate time. Right now, we're going to keep focused on the need to look out for everyday New Yorkers and everyday Americans who are under assault by an extreme MAGA Republican agenda.
Under assault, extreme MAGA agenda. Does that sound familiar to everyone? Well, if you've been watching politics for any amount of time during the 2024 election cycle, you would know that this is the sort of rhetoric that was coming out from Democrats, starting with the opening of Joe Biden's campaign and then throughout the election cycle, that many people believe was a cause for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Oh, excuse me, multiple attempted assassinations of President Donald Trump. Read the room, Hakeem. This sort of rhetoric was rejected by voters in 2024. We know that because we saw the losses that Democrats took across the country. We saw every county, virtually every county, lean right and Donald Trump win, and the House majority remain, and the Republicans taking the majority in the Senate. Hakeem Jeffries has not learned from the past. He's sticking to that rhetoric because he lives in a deep blue area. He represents a deep blue area in the People's Republic of New York City, and he knows that his constituency eats that up. Let's continue on.
That is trying to cut taxes for billionaire donors and wealthy corporations and then stick New Yorkers and working class Americans across the country with the bill.
I'll simply note another lesson from 2024 was that Kamala Harris had more billionaires donating to her campaign than Donald Trump did. Almost a 2-to-1 margin in favor of Democrats. And he trots out this tired talking point about millionaires and billionaires that didn't resonate in 2024. And I dare say, because it's being recycled now, that the majority of people aren't buying that either. But I've saved the best for last for you all.
That's not acceptable. We are going to fight it. Legislatively, we are going to fight it in the courts, and we're going to fight it in the streets.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, everybody in between out there. Fighting it legislatively, cool, totally in bounds. Opposing that agenda, great. You can totally do that if you want to. If you have the better arguments, you'll win. That's what I think America is all about. Fighting in the courts, I'm a litigator. I call it fighting in the courts all the time. Cool, no problem. You have a legal argument to pose about the actions of Donald Trump. You want to roll your dice in court on it? Cool by me. Fighting in the streets? Absolutely unacceptable.
What? That is completely out of bounds.
But unfortunately, this is part of the Dem playbook. It's reminiscent not only of the 2024 election cycle, but think about Maxine Waters and what she was saying during the first Trump administration.
Flashback.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
End of flashback.
Same old tricks that landed the Democrats in the mud after the 2024 election. It's not just Hakeem Jeffries that is using the old playbook that doesn't work anymore, apparently. It's the DNC itself as well. You have to see some of the lunacy that occurred at the DNC Leadership Forum where they elected their new chairs, vice chairs, and all of their leadership positions. It's freaking nuts. We're starting off with the DNC Chair Forum hosted by MSDNC hosts Simone Sanders Townsend, Jonathan Capehart, and Jen Psaki. This is how things kicked off.
And we'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone. It is my desire to be the next DNC chair, and I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
What the hell was that?
Quintessa Hathaway is a doctor of education, much like Jill Biden is from Arkansas, and she thought it best to use her 30 seconds to sing to the crowd. Is this someone that wants to be taken seriously for a national leadership role? Do you think that others in politics would take her seriously? Do you think her adversaries would think that she is a real competitor to get the DNC going in the right direction towards fundraising, towards party platform, with that opening statement? Like I said, this is how the forum started, but let me tell you, this was one of the least wacky things happening at this forum. The crowd itself was completely out of control.
There will be a moment where we will take questions from the audience, but I would ask, thank you so much. We appreciate your enthusiasm. We are going to ask the questions from this stage. We'll ask that you please take a seat. We'll ask that you please take a seat.
This is a question we're going to ask. We're going to ask.
All right, we're going to ask that question. We understand. We understand that there are many issues that people are very passionate about, and we are going to endeavor to get to all of those tonight. Back to the last election cycle. You do not, pardon me. Thank you all so much. We appreciate, can I note, we appreciate your enthusiasm, and we have a number of questions we'd like to get to. If you would please take a seat, ma'am. If you're willing to stay silent, we would love to have you stay. But we have a number of questions that we're going to ask. And please, you all don't know what we're asking. No one has seen our questions on this stage. Give us an opportunity to get the questions from these candidates and the answers that we all know you want. I see my Sunrise family over here. Give us an opportunity to ask the questions, please. Thank you. As I was saying. I'm sorry. Everyone, please. We cannot. I am going to ask if the audience would please give us an opportunity to ask the questions. And if you are not going to give us an opportunity to ask the questions, we are going to simply ask you to leave. We will not be able to get through this evening. We will not be able to get through this evening if you all continue to interrupt. And we are running out of time in this forum about something that came up. I want to ask, we're going to continue to go forward. I want to ask specifically about something that came up during the election. And I will direct this question to you, Governor O'Malley, and to you, Mr. Martin. We're going to continue to go forward. About 1/3 of Donald Trump's advertising, campaign advertising in October of 2004, pardon me, we'll wait a second. Thank you. So, incarcerated and undocumented immigrants. These particular...
And Democrats are still taking money from the arsonists.
You know...
This should have been done 40 years ago. I'm not talking to all of you. I'm talking to some of you. Don't shake your head like that. You've been on here for how long, O'Malley? How long? This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. Teachers, we don't hate the Democratic Party. We stop them. We knock on doors, and we get betrayed by the establishment.
I think it's important to say here, we respect people's opinions.
Right.
And it is definitely understandable that there is a lot of passion in this moment because the issues in this moment is so The stakes are high.
The stakes are high.
Let's talk about the climate emergency. Okay, hello. Let's get to the climate emergency. Let's get to the climate emergency. Jen Psaki, excuse me. We're going to skip ahead. Jen Psaki's going to ask about the climate. We're going to go to climate. Let's go.
We'd like to ask some of these questions. If you could just give us a moment. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you all being here. I just want to restate. We want to hear your opinions. We're just asking the questions so you can all hear from these candidates and people at home can hear. Okay, let me start by asking a question more formally that someone asked. Okay. Thank you. He made quite an exit. We'll give him that. Okay.
Clearly, the Democratic rank and file, they're not happy. Poor Simone Sanders Townsend. I really felt for her there, trying to keep all those plates spinning in this three-ring circus that was the DNC Chair Forum. But I think the real sign that Democrats haven't learned their lesson is not necessarily the crowd going crazy and being frustrated with their leadership, as was seen in that clip, but what was going on the stage, especially with this moment with Jonathan Capehart asking the candidates for DNC chair this question. Watch this and then watch Capehart's reaction.
So I'm going to, I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Okay. So that's good. You all passed.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. All the hands went up there, right? Which shows that they learned nothing from Kamala Harris losing. It wasn't about her race and gender, although I will say, of course, there are always fringes in every argument. There's always going to be stupid racists and stupid misogynists in the world, but they were not the majority. They weren't the reason that Kamala Harris lost. She lost because she's stupid. She's lost because she doesn't speak in anything but word salads. She went on The View and said that she wouldn't change anything that Joe Biden did when everyone knew that what Joe Biden was doing was absolutely cuckoo bananas. She picked a running mate that was absolutely atrocious. She didn't spend enough time campaigning in Rust Belt states. There were so many mistakes. We've talked about them before. I'm not going to list every single one of them. Race and sex or gender, whatever you want to call it, not that high on the list, not the top 10, in my opinion. But again, Democrats see race because they've been trained to see race for how long now? You have different wings within the DNC, in my opinion. You have Democrats, leftists, and liberals. I think in the spectrum of things, the Democrats are the closest to the center. Then you have the liberals, which will be the traditional left. And then you have the leftists, which is the fringe, far left, socialist, crazy, woke Karens of the world that you see out there complaining about every single thing. The fringes trying to control the party, the tail wagging the dog. That's what's been going on in the Democrat Party for a good long while. And when we come back from the break, I'll show you the ultimate example of the DNC still not learning their lessons from the trouncing of 2024. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. So this is the outgoing DNC chair, Jamie Harrison, explaining a change in rules for the DNC vice chair elections. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not familiar with their rule book, but I know that this is a change from what was stated earlier because that's what Harrison says in the opening here. Listen to this from the outgoing DNC chair, and then let's think critically about where the Democrats have lost the plot again moving forward after losing in 2024.
As you know, our 3 at-large vice chair positions are used to ensure gender balance among 7 offices: treasurer, secretary, national finance chair, and vice chair for civic engagement and voter participation, and the 3 at-large vice chairs. Our rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither male nor female, and the remaining 6 offices must be gender balanced. With the results of the previous 4 elections, our elected officers are currently 2 male and 2 female. In order to be gender balanced, we must elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender.
Okay, I don't know if you followed that whole thing, but what I got out of it was that the DNC doesn't care about merit. They want to have gender balance instead of having the best and the brightest running their party. In this particular case with the DNC vice chairs, you got to have 1 male, 1 female, and 1 non-binary other, whatever the case may be. Although, since we've learned from past videos that gender is still a big deal for Democrats.
There are 2 genders, male and female. Do you disagree with that?
How many genders are there, Harry?
Yeah,
Come on, little guy. How many genders are there?
Again, these guys don't know what they're talking about, so they won't be able
Harry,
to answer.
how many genders are there?
How many genders are there, Harry?
How many
genders are there?
What's the lead? I'm gonna use Joe Biden's answers. At least 2. At least 2. That satisfies.
Well, how
the
many
little
more
phrase you guys
other than
got going
male,
up in there.
female?
That's a TikTok answer.
There's
I wonder what happens when you have a spectrum of genders all lining up to be nominees. Are there going to be 72 different DNC vice chairs to cover every single different gender that is identified at that given time? What happens if there's a discovery of a new gender? Is it right that they're all being grouped together into one other category and they all have to fight it out there? And how many candidates are there? If there's only 1 non-binary, as Jamie Harrison is calling it, candidate, well, congratulations, you are now the new DNC vice chair, one of the 3 that have to be there for gender balance. You could be a freaking moron and not know anything about politics and be DNC vice chair if you declare yourself as being non-binary. Let's let that sink in. What was the most impactful ad of the 2024 election season from most pundits, especially those on the left? We've seen it in videos before. Donald Trump's ad about gender-affirming surgeries for inmates that Kamala Harris supported. It was the most impactful because it showed Kamala Harris having even more cognitive dissonance about what should be done to cater to the smallest of minorities in the country, and that being inmates that want transgender surgery. It showed that Democrats cared more about the fringes than they did about the rank and file, than the majority. And while it's certainly noble to say you want 1 male, 1 female, 1 non-binary, 1 whatever the case may be, whatever rules you want to create, it doesn't create a system where you have your best coming forward to do the work that Democrats should have been doing for a while, which is, how the hell are we going to win back the trust of the American people in general? But it gets worse than this, in my opinion, because now, listen to this explanation from Harrison on these rules that are just cropping up now.
So again, this is what we have to do for this vice chair race. We have to elect 1 male, 1 female, and 1 person of any gender. To ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our RBC co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week, but I hope you will see that in practice it is simple and transparent.
Simple, because government and politics and political parties, they're known for doing things simply. And if you believe that, there's a bridge I can sell you in the People's Republic of New York City that's up for sale right now, and you can have it for a song.
Democrats.
Is this the leadership that you want running your government? He doesn't even believe his own rules. He's reading it off a piece of paper. They just threw this together ad hoc. And this is the sort of leadership that they want to run your government. They want you to agree to put them in office. Would you even put them in as dog catcher with the way they're running things here? Again, I understand the need to be fair and balanced and all that. But it's the tail wagging the dog again. The fringes of the party are doing all these machinations to get the rest of the party to contort and bend to their will. It's absolutely freaking crazy. The chaos here between the running of the forum here, the running of the vote, the way the crowd's acting, it's all just one big mess. And it shows that they haven't gotten their shit together yet, even after getting their asses handed to them across the nation. I just want to reiterate again. Democrats, liberals, leftists. I make a distinction between all of them because I think that the Democrat Party is so fractured internally that they don't even know their own identity at this point. Out of this convention, they ended up getting, I believe, a very, let's say, non-diverse leadership in power.
The whiteness.
I think David Hogg, the kid from Stoneman Douglas High School that's been grifting about gun control, is now one of those vice chairs that Jamie Harrison was talking about electing. And we're seeing this rancor, this like I've been calling chaos within the party at this point, that is still using the same rhetoric that we saw Hakeem Jeffries use earlier. Extreme MAGAs and assault and fight in the streets. And we see the discontent within the party itself, that it feels like the Democratic Party remains a powder keg that is going to go off at any moment. All in the name of doing the same thing over and over again that they did before during the first Trump administration that got them in this mess to begin with. The definition of insanity, as we all know colloquially, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Democrats, you're freaking insane right now. Stop it. At least that's my opinion about what you're doing out there. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about all this. Are Democrats insane at this point by that definition? Are they just replaying 2024 and thinking they're going to get a different result? Let's get into those comments together. And as always, like and share this video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. I want to know what you think about the current state of the Democrat Party and all the other shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.